What if the only thing standing between you and peace is a habit you don't even know you have? You wake up tired, you scroll through your phone, comparing yourself to people you've never met. You replay old regrets in your head like a song stuck on loop. You say, "I'm fine," but you don't feel fine. Here's the truth. You don't need more motivation. You need fewer mental habits that sabotage you before the day even begins. Because your mind, it's not broken, it's just conditioned. Conditioned to overthink, to self-doubt, to hold on, to judge, to rush, to chase, to fear. But that can change, and it doesn't take a miracle, it just takes a few small shifts. Habits, really, that quietly rewire the way your mind moves through life. Not flashy, not complicated, just powerful. If you're ready for peace that actually stays, if you're ready for clarity that doesn't vanish by lunchtime, start here with these 7 life-changing mental habits. Because once you change how your mind sees the world, you change everything. 7 habits that will change your mind. Introduction. If you want to change your life, start by changing the way your mind works. It's not always the big moments that shift your path. It's often the quiet habits that sneak in and settle down inside your thoughts, slowly tilting the lens through which you see everything. Let me tell you a quick story. A man once went to a Zen master and said, "I've come here for peace." The master smiled and poured him a cup of tea, and then he kept pouring and pouring until the tea spilled all over the table. "Stop," the man shouted. "The cup is full." The master nodded. "Exactly. Your mind is the same. How can I teach you peace if you're already overflowing with everything else?" That's where we begin, with that overflowing cup. Because whether we realize it or not, most of us are walking around carrying way too much. Thoughts we never chose, beliefs passed down like old furniture, expectations we didn't question, emotions we pretend aren't there. That's a lot of noise to live with. No wonder so many of us feel lost or stuck or restless in a life that looks fine from the outside but feels off on the inside. Now, here's the thing. This isn't one of those 7 habits to become a millionaire before sunrise kind of guides. There's no hype here, no biohacks, no performative morning routines. What you'll find here is something much simpler and far more powerful. You'll find 7 habits that don't just shift your actions, they shift your awareness. Habits that feel like seeds when you plant them, but slowly turn into trees. Quiet, solid, grounding. These habits, they rewire the way your mind responds to life. They help you think less reactively and feel more deeply. They teach you how to be still without being stagnant, to be strong without being hard, to be kind without being weak, to be focused without being obsessed. And most importantly, they help you clean the window through which you see your entire life. But let me be real with you. This isn't about perfection. It's not about fixing yourself either. You're not broken. Your mind's just picked up a few things along the way. Some helpful, some not so much. What these habits offer you is a new way of being with your own mind, not controlling it like some cold machine, not forcing it into silence, but befriending it, guiding it, teaching it how to breathe again. If that sounds soft, good, because strength isn't always loud. Sometimes it sounds like a quiet no. Sometimes it feels like letting go. And sometimes it looks like sitting in a room by yourself, thinking a new thought for the very first time. So here's my invitation to you. Take what speaks to you. Leave the rest, but read slowly. Let the ideas sit. Let them echo, because if even one of these habits takes root, your entire mind will begin to change. And where your mind goes, your life follows. Let's begin. 1. The habit of stillness. You don't need more, you need less. There's a strange irony about the way most of us live. We think we're looking for answers, but really, we're just running from silence. We fill every gap in the day with noise. Music, messages, meetings, even those endless scrolls through screens that leave us more empty than entertained. But let me ask you something. When was the last time you sat in complete stillness? Not because you had to, but because you chose to. Not staring at a screen, not listening to a podcast, not even reading a self-help article like this one. Just being. I know that sounds weird, maybe even uncomfortable, but let's sit with that discomfort for a second, because that's where real change starts. We're addicted to more. Here's the lie we've been sold. If you're not doing more, achieving more, becoming more, you're falling behind. So we chase productivity like it's salvation. We multitask until our attention feels like a shattered mirror. We squeeze every ounce of juice out of our calendars and then wonder why we feel so dry. But the truth? Stillness isn't a luxury, it's oxygen. And without it, your mind becomes noisy, reactive, unfocused. You can't hear your own intuition through the static. You lose clarity not because you're not smart enough, but because your mental space is too crowded for wisdom to land. The monk who sat through the storm. Let me share a little parable. A young monk once asked his teacher, "Master, how do I find peace when everything around me is in chaos?" The teacher didn't say a word. He simply took the student outside, pointed at a muddy pond, and stirred it up with a stick. "Right now," the master said, "this is your mind." Then they sat beside it. 10 minutes passed, 20, 30. Eventually, the mud settled. The water became clear. That, the master said, is stillness. The clarity you seek is always there, beneath the noise. You just need to wait. That's not just a metaphor, it's biology. Neuroscience has shown that moments of stillness, literal physical stillness, help your nervous system reset, reduce cortisol, improve memory, and increase creativity. But we're not talking about meditation retreats in the Himalayas here. We're talking about the little habit of stopping, pausing, unplugging, not as an exception, but as a rhythm. What stillness looks like in real life. Stillness doesn't have to mean sitting cross-legged in candlelight. It can look like drinking your morning coffee without your phone, closing your eyes for 2 minutes in your parked car before walking into work, listening to the sound of your own breath when you're lying in bed at night, watching a tree sway in the wind, like it's the most important thing in the world. Stillness is presence without productivity, and that's rare in a world that worships busyness. But that's also where transformation begins, because in stillness you don't just rest, you remember who you are. Protect your peace. Like it's your password. You wouldn't give your phone passcode to a stranger, right? Then why give your attention to anything that doesn't nourish your inner peace? It's okay to put your phone on Do Not Disturb. It's okay to say no to another Zoom call that could have been an email. It's okay to stare at the ceiling for 5 minutes and not apologize for it. Because every time you protect your stillness, you reclaim your mind. And every time you reclaim your mind, you shift the way you show up in life. So no, you don't need more. You need space. And space gives birth to clarity. And clarity, that's where your real power lives. Ready for the next shift? Let's move to the second habit, the one most people resist. 2. The habit of self-honesty. Stop lying to yourself. First, shall I continue? The habit of self-honesty. Stop lying to yourself. First, let's be brutally honest, because that's the point of this habit. Most people aren't confused. They're just unwilling to admit what they already know. We've all done it, haven't we? Stayed in a job we hated, pretending it was fine. Clung to a relationship we outgrew, saying it'll get better. Told ourselves we were okay when we weren't. It's not always because we're liars. It's because we're afraid. Afraid of what it means to know the truth. Afraid of what we'd have to change. But here's the kicker. If you want to change your mind, you have to stop running from it first. The most dangerous lies are the ones you whisper to yourself. See, self-deception isn't always loud. It's quiet, cozy even. It hides in phrases like, "It's not that bad," "I don't care," "This is just who I am," "They didn't mean it," "It's too late for me anyway." These aren't harmless. They're protective walls your mind builds when it thinks you're not ready for the truth. But the truth doesn't destroy you. It frees you. What destroys you is pretending you're okay when you're quietly breaking. It's smiling through burnout. It's swallowing your anger because you don't want to cause trouble. It's settling for crumbs and calling it a feast. And over time, that fake smile becomes a habit. You forget how to tell the truth even to yourself. You know what? That voice in your head isn't always you. Let's slow down here. You have a voice in your head. We all do. But that voice isn't always you. Sometimes it's your fear, your past, your parents, society, trauma. And yet, we let it run the show, like it's the gospel truth. But when you stop and really listen to it, when you question it, you start realizing just how much of your identity is built on assumptions, not reality. Here's something wild. Most of what you believe about yourself was handed to you by someone else, and you never paused long enough to ask, is this actually true? Let me give you an example. I once met a woman who said, "I'm not creative." When I asked why, she said, "My third grade teacher told me my drawing was messy. I just never tried again." That's it. One moment, one comment, and she carried that label for decades. We all do this. We internalize opinions and wear them like skin, but skin can shed. And so can these old stories, once you tell the truth. How to start being honest with yourself. No, you don't need a therapist, though it helps. What you need is the courage to stop filtering your own truth. Here are a few real simple ways to start. The mirror question. Look at yourself and ask, what am I pretending not to know? Then say the answer out loud, even if it scares you, especially if it scares you. The journal prompt that cuts deep. Try this. What would I change if I knew no one would judge me? Write without editing. Let the raw truth spill out. Don't worry about being graceful. Worry about being real. The one-person rule. Choose one person, just one, you can tell a hard truth to. Practice honesty in safe spaces and it'll ripple into the rest of your life. Because the more honest you are with yourself, the less you'll tolerate lies from anyone else. Self-honesty doesn't mean self-hate. Let's clear something up. Telling yourself the truth doesn't mean tearing yourself down. Saying I'm unhappy doesn't mean I'm a failure. Saying I don't love them anymore doesn't make you a bad person. Saying this isn't working doesn't mean you're broken. It means you're awake. And the awakened mind doesn't need perfection. It just needs truth. And you know what? That's enough. Ready for habit 3? It's where we learn that your mind isn't just a mirror. It's a narrator. 3. The habit of reframing. Your mind is a storyteller. Here's something that might blow your mind a little. Your life isn't what happens to you. It's the story you tell yourself about what happens to you. Same event, 2 people, 2 completely different interpretations. Why? Because the mind is not a camera. It doesn't just record life objectively. It's a storyteller, a meaning maker, a narrator with a very specific voice. And that voice? Sometimes it's kind, sometimes it's cruel, but it's always shaping your reality. Let's talk about the subtitle effect. Imagine watching a movie in a language you don't speak. Now imagine 2 different sets of subtitles. One says, "He left her because she wasn't enough." And the other says, "He left because he didn't know how to handle real love." Same scene, but the story completely different. Your mind does this all the time. It writes subtitles under every moment. You trip and fall. "I'm such an idiot." You get rejected. "I'll never be loved." You fail a project. "This is who I am." But what if that story isn't true? What if it's just familiar? See, Your brain likes patterns. It clings to the same old story, even if that story hurts, because it's safe, predictable, easy. But easy doesn't mean true, and familiar doesn't mean right. Pain can stay, but meaning can change. Here's a little secret most people don't realize. You don't need to erase the past to heal. You just need to see it differently. Maybe your heartbreak wasn't your fault. Maybe your failure was your teacher. Maybe the thing that almost broke you actually built you. This doesn't mean sugarcoating things or pretending bad things didn't happen. It means giving yourself permission to write a new meaning. Reframing isn't lying to yourself. It's liberating yourself. It's saying, I get to choose the story I live in. That's power, not denial. A Buddhist lens on reframing. There's a Zen saying that goes, the obstacle is the path. At first glance, it sounds like a contradiction. But look deeper. That thing you keep resenting, that's your teacher. That failure you can't stop replaying, that's your gateway. That wound, that's your opening. In Buddhism, suffering isn't something to run from. It's something to see through, not as punishment, but as a lens to wake you up. Reframing isn't just mindset, it's consciousness work. It's the moment you realize you're not your pain, you're the one witnessing it. How to practice the habit of reframing and pause the thought. Catch it mid-sentence. Oh, there I go again, assuming the worst. Second question, the narrative. Ask, what else could be true? Whose voice is this really? Is this story helping me or hurting me? 3. Choose a new frame instead of, I failed again. Try, I just learned something I couldn't have without this experience. Instead of, they don't love me. Try, maybe their love language is different. Or maybe I deserve a different kind of love. This isn't toxic positivity, it's emotional sovereignty. It's taking back the pen and saying, I get to tell this story my way now. Here's the thing, your life isn't a fixed script, it's a draft. And every day, your thoughts are either revising it or repeating it. So the next time your mind starts narrating a familiar, painful tale, stop and ask, wait, who's writing this? Because if you don't write your own story, someone else will, and chances are their version won't be kind. Feeling the shift? Let's keep going. Up next is where the real mental weight gets released, the habit of letting go. Stop carrying what's not yours. Let's be real, some of the heaviest things we carry aren't even ours. We carry guilt for someone else's disappointment. We carry responsibility for things we had no control over. We carry shame like a second skin, old regrets, childhood wounds, conversations we keep replaying in our heads. And every day, we pick them up again like emotional luggage. No wonder we're tired. But here's the part no one says out loud. You're mentally exhausted not because you're weak, but because you're holding too much that doesn't belong in your hands anymore. The weight you normalize. Have you ever opened a closet and found stuff you forgot you had, but somehow it was still taking up space? That's what your mind looks like when you never let go. Full of expired identities, outgrown expectations, other people's projections. And here's the trick, because it accumulates slowly, you start thinking it's just you. But it's not. It's baggage, emotional clutter, and until you set it down, you'll keep wondering why you can't move forward. Let me paint a picture. You're climbing a mountain. You've got a backpack. At first, it's just the essentials, but then someone hands you their expectations. Then society drops in a few shoulds. A past partner throws in their judgment. Eventually, you're carrying so much that you're dragging your feet, and you think you are the problem. But you're not. The problem is the weight. And you can put it down. The parable of the two monks. There's a classic Zen story that goes like this. Two monks were traveling. At one point, they reached a river where a woman was struggling to cross. One of the monks picked her up, carried her across, and gently put her down. The two monks continued walking. Hours passed. Finally, the second monk blurted out, How could you carry that woman? We're not supposed to touch women. The first monk calmly replied, I put her down hours ago. Why are you still carrying her? That story, it's about you. How many people, arguments, mistakes, moments are you still carrying long after they ended? You're walking through life with people in your head who aren't even thinking about you. You're holding on to emotions that never got processed, just buried. And your mind is paying rent on spaces you should have left years ago. Letting go isn't weakness, it's wisdom. Some people think letting go means losing, that it's soft, passive, defeatist. Letting go is brave. It means choosing peace over ego, freedom over control, clarity over chaos. It means saying, I no longer need to prove myself to them. That chapter taught me something, but it's closed. I forgive them, not because they deserve it, but because I do. And here's something wild. Sometimes the thing you need to let go of isn't a person or memory. It's a version of you that no longer fits. That people-pleasing version, that perfectionist version, that survival mode version. You've outgrown them, but your mind hasn't caught up yet. It's time to send them love and set them free. Try this. The mental dump list. Grab a notebook. At the top, write, things I'm done carrying. Then list them. No filter, no edit, no judgment. Resentment toward X. The belief that I'm not enough, that one regret from 10 years ago. My fear of failure. The need to be liked by everyone. Once it's on paper, read it out loud. Then either rip it up, burn it, or put it away somewhere private. You just gave your subconscious permission to release it. That's not woo-woo. That's neuroscience. Writing externalizes emotion, and reading it aloud, it seals the intention. Letting go is a practice. You'll have to do it again, and again, and again. But every time you do, you make more room. And in that room, clarity walks in, peace walks in, and finally, you walk in. Feeling lighter? Now that you've made space, it's time to fill it with something powerful. 5. The habit of curiosity. Judgment makes you blind. Let's be honest. Judgment is easy. It's quick. It feels powerful. It gives you the illusion of knowing something without actually understanding it. But you know what judgment doesn't do? It doesn't teach. It doesn't open. It doesn't grow. Curiosity does. Where judgment shuts down a conversation, curiosity leans in. Where judgment labels, curiosity listens. Where judgment says, I already know, curiosity asks, what am I missing? And when it comes to changing your mind, curiosity is your best friend. Why judgment feels safer than wonder. Here's a weird little truth. Your brain loves judgment. Why? Because it makes things feel certain, safe, defined. He's lazy. She's toxic. I suck at this. That'll never work. That voice, it's trying to protect you from uncertainty, but in doing so, it also protects you from growth. Judgment is a mental shortcut. It feels smart, but it actually limits your intelligence. It kills nuance. It creates assumptions. And worst of all, it blinds you to what's possible. Curiosity is the antidote. Now let me tell you about a child I met once. She was 4. She asked me why the sky changed color at night. I gave her the basic answer, because of the sun. She nodded, then asked, but where does the sky go? That question stayed with me, because she wasn't looking for an answer. She was looking to understand. And that's what curiosity does. It makes space for wonder, for complexity, for truth that isn't black and white. You want to change your mind? Stop trying to be right all the time. Start being interested. Curiosity isn't just for kids or scientists. It's a mindset, a way of looking at life with openness instead of defense. You can practice curiosity in every part of your day. Instead of, why is this happening to me? Try, why is this happening for me? Instead of, I don't get it, try, I wonder what I'm missing. Instead of, they're wrong, try, what do they see that I don't? Apply it to people, to problems, to your own thoughts. You'll be amazed how much your mind softens. without losing strength. Curiosity in Buddhism, the beginner's mind. In Zen Buddhism, there's a concept called Shoshin, beginner's mind. It means approaching life with the openness of someone who doesn't assume they already know. The master walks into a conversation like a student. The wise person listens like a child. Because the truth is, certainty is often a prison, and curiosity is the key. Beginner's mind isn't naive. It's humble. It's clear-eyed. It knows the world is layered and that people are more than their worst moment. Imagine applying that to yourself. What if you looked at your own life, not with judgment, but with honest wonder? What if I'm not behind? What if there's nothing wrong with me? What if I've only scratched the surface of who I can become? That's not delusion. That's awakening. Try this, the what else could be true exercise. Next time you catch yourself thinking something harsh or final, pause and ask, what else could be true? Example, thought, I'm bad at relationships. Curiosity, what if I've just never learned healthy communication yet? Thought, this job is pointless. Curiosity, what if there's something here I'm meant to learn before I leave? Thought, they're just cold. Curiosity, what if they're guarded because they've been hurt? This doesn't excuse bad behavior. It simply opens up space. And in that space, your mind can expand. The beautiful thing about curiosity, it's contagious. Once you start wondering more, you judge less. You soften. You see more sides to every story. You realize people are complicated, and so are you. But instead of trying to fix or label everything, you explore it. And that, my friend, is real intelligence. So now that you're more open, let's return to the present moment, because the next habit might just be the one your mind has been quietly begging for. 6. The habit of presence. Stop time traveling in your head. Let's be real. Your body might be here, but your mind, it's probably somewhere else entirely. Maybe it's replaying an old conversation. Maybe it's predicting a future that hasn't happened. Or maybe it's just bouncing around like a pinball machine, chasing dopamine hits from thoughts you didn't ask for. That's the thing about the mind. It loves to time travel. But here's the problem. Every moment your mind leaves the present, you leave your life. And if you do that often enough, you start to feel lost in a life that's technically yours, but doesn't feel like it. The present is all you ever actually have. Yeah, you've heard it before. Be present. Live in the now. Mindfulness. It's become a cliche, but cliches only become cliches because they're true and often ignored. The past is a memory. The future is a guess. Only the present is real. But here's the catch. Your mind will do everything it can to escape it. Why? Because the present moment is quiet, and your mind is addicted to noise. It doesn't want stillness, it wants stimulation. It doesn't want simplicity, it wants something to chew on. That's why it drags you into mental loops about what you should have said, what you should have done, or what you hope doesn't happen next week. And if you're not careful, you'll live your entire life up there, in your head, instead of in your actual life. When mindfulness isn't about incense and Zen bells, let's get something straight. You don't need to be a monk. You don't need a meditation cushion. You don't need to chant or light a candle or download 5 mindfulness apps. You just need to notice where your mind goes and gently bring it back. That's it. When you're washing dishes, wash the dishes, feel the water, hear the clink of the plate, breathe. When you're walking, walk. Feel your feet on the ground. Notice the colors around you. Let your phone stay in your pocket. When you're eating, eat. Taste the food. Chew slowly. Let it be enough. These sound basic, but they're actually profound. Because presence doesn't mean turning off your thoughts. It means returning to what's real. Again and again and again. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 grounding ritual. If you ever feel overwhelmed or anxious, try this. 1. 5 things you can see. 2. 4 things you can touch. 3 things you can hear, 4 things you can smell, 5 things you can see, 1 thing you can taste. It's a way of anchoring yourself back into your senses, into now. You'd be surprised how much power is in now. Now is where your breath lives. Now is where your body heals. Now is where the next right choice exists. Every meaningful shift happens in the now, but you have to show up for it. Stop overthinking, start sensing. The more time you spend in your body, the less time you spend in loops, because overthinking is just your mind trying to control what it doesn't trust. But presence, it's trust. It's saying, I don't have to solve everything right now, I just have to be here. That's where clarity lives. That's where love lives. That's where you live. So, start there. And now we arrive at the 7th habit, the softest, the strongest, the one that changes not just your mind, but your relationship with yourself. 7. The habit of compassion. You can't hate yourself into growth. Here's something we don't say enough. You don't need to be hard on yourself to get better. Read that again. Because somewhere along the way, many of us got it twisted. We started believing that if we could just criticize ourselves enough, we'd finally become good enough. But the truth is, you can't shame yourself into wholeness. You can't punish yourself into peace. You can't hate yourself into healing. And yet, that's what most people try to do. They call it tough love. They say, I just need to be more disciplined. But what they really mean is, if I beat myself up enough, maybe I'll change. Let me ask you something. Would you talk to a friend that way? Imagine your closest friend came to you and said, I feel like a failure. Would you respond with, yeah, you are. You're always messing things up. Why can't you just get it together? Of course not. You'd probably say, hey, you're human, you're learning, you've been through a lot, and you're still standing. That means something. So why can't you say that to yourself? The voice in your head doesn't have to sound like a critic. It can sound like a coach, or a wise elder, or a best friend who holds you accountable, but with love, not fear. The real reason people resist self-compassion. You know what most people think? If I go easy on myself, I'll become lazy. If I accept myself, I'll never grow. If I love myself, I'll stop improving. But self-compassion isn't self-indulgence. It's self-respect. It doesn't mean you let yourself off the hook. It means you see yourself clearly and you still choose kindness. Think of it this way. Guilt says, I messed up, I'm awful. Compassion says, I messed up. I want to do better. I'm still worthy. That's the kind of inner dialogue that creates sustainable change. Not short bursts of shame-fueled motivation, but long-term, rooted growth. Buddhist compassion versus Western self-esteem. In Buddhist teachings, compassion isn't a mood. It's a practice, a discipline. It's how you treat all beings, and yes, that includes you. Where Western self-esteem says, I'm valuable because I succeed, Buddhist compassion says, I'm valuable because I exist. It's not conditional. You don't have to earn it. It's your birthright. And when you start treating yourself like someone who deserves compassion, you stop needing perfection to feel like a person. Try this. Speak to yourself like someone you love seriously. When you're spiraling, when you're stuck, when you've just messed up again, pause. Put your hand over your chest and say out loud if you can, I'm doing the best I can. This is hard and I'm still worthy. I may not have all the answers, but I'm showing up. These aren't just affirmations, they're reminders. And with enough reminders, your nervous system starts to believe you. You begin to breathe deeper. You start to soften. You build a relationship with yourself that's rooted in trust, not fear. And when you trust yourself, everything changes. Your decisions, your confidence, your relationships, your peace. One last truth about compassion. The way you treat yourself becomes the way you treat others, and vice versa. If you judge yourself constantly, you'll judge others. If you're harsh with yourself, you'll expect harshness from everyone else. But if you practice compassion internally, you begin to create a life that feels safe, grounded, human, a life where you can mess up and still be loved, where you can be growing and still be enough. That's what this habit gives you, not just a softer mind, but a wiser one. Now, you've reached the end of the 7 habits, but this isn't the end of your journey. Let's bring it all together with a closing that reminds you just how far you've already come.